Hello, everyone. This is Aaron Pacentine here with the FamilyFilmsProductions.com website. And as everyone knows, we have been able to promote and have available several interviews with Evie Karlsson. And Evie's here today with the interview, and I hope you're doing well today, Evie.
Hello, Aaron. It's always good to hear your voice, and thank you very much. I am doing just great, and I hope you are too.
Yes, I am. Thank you so very much. Well, thank you. Did have a few questions to ask you, and I am sure that your fans would appreciate a small little trip down memory lane for you.
All right, here we go.
Okay.
Strap on the seatbelt.
Right. Only a few questions about this, but I was wondering, and I think people would be interested to hear, what was it like when you found out, of course it was a while back, when you ended up singing in front of the King of Norway and went over there? Do you have any kind of recollection of that time?
Oh, of course I do. My family background, of course, my mom and my dad and my older brother Finn immigrated from Norway to the United States in 1954, which was a couple years before I was born. And yes, I'm 60 years old. And of course, Norway has been so close to my heart from whenever I could remember. Growing up in a home that was very thankful and proud to be living in the United States of America, but also grateful for our Norwegian background, our heritage and roots that go back to the old country. So interestingly, Aaron, the time that I was able to sing a few songs for the King of Norway was actually in Carnegie Hall in New York City.
Okay.
And he was visiting the United States. His name was Kung Olaf, just like the character, the snowman in the movie Frozen.
Right, yeah.
That was the old king's name, Olaf. And he was a precious, precious man that was on a tour throughout the United States. I would say it was back in probably mid-70s, maybe 75 or 76. And he was in New York City, and in that world-famous, beautiful venue called Carnegie Hall, some folks had put together an event that would honor the king and would help celebrate 150 years at the time of immigrants coming to the United States from Norway. So all the people that were interesting when you consider also all the discussion that we now have about immigrants, and of course that's a different subject. But I am a daughter of immigrants,
right?
And of course, so many folks in America today have indeed come from different parts of the world generations back, and it's one thing that makes America so special. But in this case, the Norwegians were celebrating 150 years. King Olav was in different parts of the United States, New York City, Chicago, Minneapolis, out on the West Coast, in places and in Seattle, where many Scandinavians, particularly Norwegians, had settled. And everyone that was part of that event at Carnegie Hall were either immigrants from Norway or, like in my case, a daughter of immigrants that had come. So that night was very special for me. I was together with several different people that at the time were very well known as being famous in motion pictures and on the Broadway stage.
Mm-hmm.
And they all participated. Arlene Dahl was a lady that was there that night in Carnegie Hall. Also Celeste Holm, who was a wonderful actress in Broadway. And
Great.
then Peter Graves, who together with his brother Jim Arness, these brothers, Jim Arness was with Gunsmoke, and Peter Graves. Graves played in the it was a family drama. What was it? Not The Man from U.N.C.L.E., but
you mean
Peter
Gunsmoke?
Graves. No, well, his brother played. He had
Look it up, right? Oh, that's right.
Yeah, he had a great long run on this series on television. And then there were some singers, and myself, of all people. Right. And singing, standing on that world-famous stage, looking up at the box to my right, and there sits the King of Norway. And I sang for him songs about Jesus Christ.
Very
who
good.
Is still the number one love of my life and always will be. And at the end of the evening, we had a chance to meet the King personally. And as I came up to him, I put my arms around his neck, and I looked him straight in the eye, and I completely forgot all the protocol that you're supposed to use the term Your Majesty instead of the word you.
Right.
But I looked at him and I spoke in Norwegian to him, and I said, "Oh, what a thrill it is to meet you." And I said, "And I have to tell you, you remind me so much of my grandfather." And he just was as kind and sincere and loving as you would think. And here he was, the King, a man who didn't have a last name. He's just known as King Olav.
Right.
And then as I pondered it, Aaron, after that day, many people talked to me about what was it like singing for the King. And I thought, well, you know what? I have the privilege and the high honor of singing for the King of Kings every day of my life. And I am honored and just beyond privileged to know him personally and to call him my dearest friend.
You know, that's wonderful, because as soon as you said singing for the King, immediately I thought of the Lord, and I knew that I had a feeling. And you're right. You're absolutely right.
Exactly. Yep.
Right. Better to sing for our Lord in heaven than worry about the King, except when he was at Carnegie Hall. So. Yeah.
That's right.
Right. Yeah. Thank you. And the only we'll have these other questions, but as far as these memories from before, I know that, as everyone does know, that you had released a number of these albums, of course, in the 70s and 80s, and, you know, at that time there were, you know, and still are people that are obtaining them. And, of course, the Mirror album has still been very popular today. And I was just wondering if you could share maybe a fact or two about that album, and, you know, maybe even how the title of Mirror came about.
Absolutely. Yes, thank you for asking, Aaron.
Sure.
It came just after the Christmas record.
Okay.
Come On Ring Those Bells was done first, I believe, and then Mirror came it was around the same time.
Around the time.
Very close to the same time. And the title of the record is also a title of one of the songs written by Ron Harris. And the line there, the story behind that song is basically kind of a rhetorical question. Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all?
Right.
And in fact, this song points to that no one is more wonderful and more fair and more beautiful than the Lord. And hopefully when I, as a representative and a follower of Jesus, when I look in the mirror, I will see him more than I see even me. And of course, we have to realize when we brush our teeth in the morning and when we comb our hair, and in my case, put on a little mascara or some makeup. Obviously,
right.
I'm looking at my own face.
Right.
What this clearly underscores for me, Aaron, is that when people meet me on the street or in the grocery store or perhaps in a concert or in church, but in my daily normal life, I want people to walk away and think, wow, there's something different about that gal. I wonder what it is. I want them to see him. I want them to see Jesus. And I want them to hear his love and his compassion in my voice and in my words. I want them to be encouraged and uplifted. And I know I'm not going to do that perfectly every time. I'm certainly well aware of that. Everybody can get tired. Certainly I can. Everyone can misspeak. Certainly I have and can and will in the future. But for my goal, I want people to see Jesus. And that's why the song Mirror and the whole record, the whole album Mirror, had songs that I would hope encouraged people to look to him and have him become that extra special person that's living within us. One of the other songs on that record was written by Andre Crouch. It's one of the lesser-known songs of Andre's, and yet I just loved it so much because the words said, "If heaven never was promised to me, neither God's promise to live eternally, it's been worth it all just having the Lord in my life. Living in a world of darkness, he came along and brought me the light." And I believe with all my heart that heaven is promised to me. And certainly the more of my loved ones and friends that I say farewell to, like my own dad who went to be with the Lord 18 years ago soon, heaven becomes so much more real and so close, if you will. And yet, having said that, right now, this day, I am a Christian and I'm following Jesus because that's the life I want to live. Living for him and having that relationship with God through the Holy Spirit, God on earth right now, is the best life ever. I don't want to do anything else. I'm not interested in living for anything but pleasing God. And I do that day by day, and I want to do it better and better tomorrow and the next day and the next day. How about you?
I definitely agree. And
yeah,
makes me think about your song as well, Live for Jesus, because that's what you're still doing, and as Christians, that's what we all still need to remember to do. And
yep.
It's very evident.
That's a song that my dear friend Nancy Honeytree Henningbaum wrote. We know her as just simply Honeytree. She
right.
wrote a song for me the beautiful deal about that was Nancy wrote it for me. Honeytree wrote it for me. She had been to my home in Seattle, and we were talking about what it's like to be living on the road as single women. Of course, now we're both married and have children and grandchildren, and for that we thank the Lord so much. But I was single at the time, as was she, and she said, Evie, what's one of the most unusual things you've ever heard somebody say to you after a concert? And
wow.
I said, well, that's pretty easy for me to quickly come to, and that was after a concert one night. I don't remember where it was. It was in the United States somewhere, but a gentleman came up to me with another person with him who was an interpreter for him. The gentleman was deaf. So he was also not able to speak very clearly to me. And since I don't understand sign language, he had someone interpret for him. And he said to me, Evie, I am deaf, but when I put your record on, I can hear you sing. And he got tears in his eyes, and he thanked me for singing songs about Jesus that he could hear. And when I told this to Honeytree, she said, wow. And about 2 months later, she sent me a recording of a demo tape of this song, Live for Jesus, That's What Matters. And the verse that says, well, I'm singing for the deaf man that can hear about salvation through my song. And I'm singing for the blind man that can see the light in me and come along. Live for Jesus, that's what matters. And it goes on and on. But that's the story behind that song.
Thank you very much. I honestly would remember hearing that from you before in our previous recordings before. So, no, I did not hear that story yet. So thank you. Thank you very much for that.
You bet.
I'm sure other people would agree, but, even all these years later, the Lord has greatly not only used your singing voice, but you speaking to so many people at the concerts that you have been able to go to and the ministries that you've been involved in. And that's why the Lord so blesses you and your voice today as you sing. Because
thank you, Aaron.
You're welcome.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. And praise the Lord. And I just want to be available in whatever way, and I believe you feel that too, and you sense that too with your life. And hopefully folks that are listening on this interview, that we can't give up, we can't grow weary, although we do at times. We do need to keep our eyes on the prize, and that prize is with a capital P, and his name is Jesus Christ.
That's right. And and I'm sure it's very evident through years with your work and the things that you do. And I know this for myself, as for you, as far as you're concerned too. But there are a lot of artists out there, and not per se, well, there are a lot of them out there, but there are a lot of artists out there in music and different things of that nature that really only care about the money. But you care about the Lord, and you care about what you're doing, and it's very evident that you care more about the Lord than, the $5 million or whatever it is. And it's special. I mean, money's important in a sense, but the Lord is more. And it's good that you do keep your eye on the prize, because that the Lord blesses you, and the Lord is very thankful for Whitefield Music and what he's continuing to do.
Well, He has done so much for us that there's never we could knock ourselves out and just work for him and want to please him with all our lives, and it would never be enough. Never be enough thanking him for all he's done for us and all that he represents for us. And to that comment about many that perhaps see a little bit more, are perhaps a bit focused on sort of selling a bunch of records and all of that. That is, of course, with every record that's downloaded or sold, hopefully it is an opportunity for people to hear the Lord and his word, whether it comes from, a different artist or myself. As long as the message is clear, God will use anything. But I do think it's important, whether we're musicians, singers, or anything in any walk of life, that we keep, how should I say it? Like you mentioned a moment ago, we all have to think about the bottom line. We have to pay taxes. We have to live. We have to eat. And God will provide, and he will. But we also have to think about needs of other people. We have to consider that there's a bigger world out there than just what we're doing, and kind of look beyond that small, or at least relatively speaking, small circle of reference, and we do that, and I bless everybody that stands up for the message of Jesus Christ in their life and in their communication, whether they write books or songs or sing or dance or preach or lead worship or have other mainstream jobs, but have a clear testimony about Christ being the Lord of their lives. I just want to encourage them to just keep going, because we never know when Jesus may come back, and in the meantime, we have some time here where we can be making a difference for the Lord.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, and I do appreciate that. And one final question for you, if there's anything that you would be able to share to those out there that, of course, have been able to go to iTunes now and other of these ways from your site to purchase these albums. Was there anything that you could share to everyone as far as anything future coming up, as far as a future album or something like that?
Yes, we've done quite a few through the years, and thank you for asking that, Aaron.
You're welcome.
We have posted, as you mentioned, quite a few of the older recordings on iTunes and also with Amazon. And there's a feature with Amazon that is quite nifty, quite cool, and that is if people would rather have a CD in its entirety, just exactly like the record was, and maybe they don't care to just simply download it to their device, either their phone or computer or iPad or whatever. They can actually have Amazon burn them a CD. And many, many people have done that. If they want to have a CD with them in perhaps, their car or whatever, if they don't have the availability for something else. So some folks have certainly taken advantage of that, and a lot of folks have been downloading the various records that are there already, and in a few short months, we're going to be adding a few more, and I think we're going to certainly include for the upcoming Christmas season the wonderful song, which is called A Shepherd's Prayer, and in parentheses it's called Move Me Closer. Many, many people each year have asked for that recording, which is called Christmas Memories.
That's right.
And there are some new songs. I think a total of 4 new songs, of which "Move Me Closer" is one, and then a few others. And so we're going to have that available, and perhaps some more of the international ones, the Swedish.
Good.
And in fact, we did, my son and I, Chris Karlsson and I, just did a Norwegian and Swedish recording not too long ago, within the last year, and it's called Evie Tornquist Karlsson, which translated means Evie in Norwegian and Swedish. And Chris is a fine musician and a great producer as well. He's now living in Nashville and doing a lot of fine work on his own. Certainly very proud of him and his wife Morgan and their little girl Liv. And I have told you that I am a very proud grandmother, haven't I?
That's right. Yes, and congratulations to you, your grandmother.
So Pella and I have 3 beautiful grandchildren. Our son and his wife Morgan have 1 little girl named Liv, and then our daughter Jenny and her husband Carlos have 2 children, our grandson Max and our youngest granddaughter Linnea.
Neat.
So we are just really, really, that is my world, Aaron. That's the thing that when I get up in the morning and I have a task to do to help the grandkids with something, oh my goodness, there's a spring in my walk.
That's
and
right.
It's like, let me get to those cuties. Because
Right.
in fact, earlier today I was with my grandson who was not feeling too well and was home from school. So we went to the playground with his little sister and just got out in the fresh air. And, oh, wow, that is super fun. So
Neat.
I can say a shout out to every grandmother or grandfather listening. They know how wonderful it is.
Yes, they do. Thank you very much. And it's always a very pleasure to speak with you and to hear stories from you and comments from you as well about over the years of the memories. And I do appreciate your time.
Well, Aaron, let me just tell you that I appreciate you as a young man with your focus on wanting to have family-oriented entertainment available.
Thank you.
And your website and different things that you put on, and of course your love for the Wizard of Oz, which is
Appreciate that.
a great almost subculture in the world.
Right.
And but again, God be with you, my young friend.
Thank you so much.
May He continue to lead you and point you in the right direction with your life. And just know that He loves you so very much. And for that matter, everyone that's listening. And His plans and His purposes are bigger and greater than anything we could ask or imagine. And I just want to leave you with that, Aaron. God be with you and your loved ones and family and all the folks listening here on this interview today.
Thank you so much.